Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. The movie I want to talk about today comes from 1981, and this is a French film called Diva. It's directed by Jean-Jacques Beineix, and it is a very stylish crime film, but it's also very operatic, uh, an operatic noir, a neo-noir, I guess. And it it both begins and ends in at an opera performance. The first one, we see our protagonist Jules, who is a postman. He rides around Paris on a moped, and he's going to this concert in a kind of dilapidated, rundown venue. It's a recital rather than a full-fledged opera. And when you see the diva come out, there's an orchestra, and she sings a rather obscure aria, but it's absolutely beautiful. And the director wanted this area to be pretty much unknown to the audience, so they would discover it. Jules is enraptured and is in tears, but he's also taping it surreptitiously because the diva has never been she has never been recorded. Her voice, if you want to hear what she sounds like, you have to go see a live performance. She is ideologically against recording. So Jules is recording it surreptitiously, but right behind him, there's a couple of men in sunglasses. They're Asian. I believe they're Taiwanese, and they notice the recording and being done, and they want the tape because they want to take it back to Taiwan and bootleg it, since it would be very valuable. But this diva is very popular. Um, so, so this is the first this opera episode. This episode in the opera is one strand. This is really a tale of two tapes because there's going to be another tape. As Jules makes his way through Paris, he's stopped by a busy metro exit, and a woman is coming out in barefoot and real distress and being chased by gangsters, some very scary looking gangsters, and she drops a tape into his into the pocket of Jules's moped. Jules doesn't even know it's there. So now he's being chased. So this is the two chases, the two tapes. So the gangsters eventually find out he has this tape. Jules has no idea he has it, and then he doesn't even know what's on it. Eventually, he does find out it's a incriminating tape, and the gangsters and the mob they represent want this tape back. And then the police are also, because there's crimes being committed, and they know there's some prostitution ring, and they're trying to crack that ring. And they find out that Jules is part of this, so they're also chasing Jules. And this is a movie with a very famous chase where Jules is being chased this time by the police, and he goes into the metro, and he goes right down the stairs of the metro, many floors down, and then gets on the metro with his moped with the cop unable to get in, and he's hanging onto the back of the train. This is and then again out of the metro. So this is a movie about the look of the film. There's something called the cinema de look, which is which Beineix and also Luc Besson, I guess, was the chief popularizer of this style, and it's really the substance is the style. So we're mesmerized by all these images, all these sets. And we see Paris at night. Jules lives in seemingly an abandoned automobile garage, and he's surrounded by smashed up cars. The walls are murals of cars that look like they are about to be smashed. And then he also befriends a teenage girl. She's Vietnamese, in a record store where she's trying to steal a record. into her portfolio. They strike up a friendship, and this character, Alba, takes Jules to where she's living in this huge loft in which she often goes around on roller skates, and this is Gora Dish, the man she's living with. He's maybe around 40 years old, and he's doing all these crazy experiments. And again, just like Jules's garage, this loft is just filled with all kinds of interesting things to look at. I don't even know what some of them were, but it's very interesting what they do and very well lit. This is a film of blues and grays, and we get to look right from the opening scene in that rundown recital hall. So Jules gets himself into all kinds of scrapes, and this is where Gora Dish comes in, because Gora Dish is basically the Deus ex machina from Greek drama. In Greek drama, when the protagonist got into insolvable situation, there's no way out. The gods would come down and fix everything. Sometimes they would actually come in on a machine, and they would descend down and get the protagonist out of trouble. And this is Gora Dish's role in this film. He's adopted, and he's sort of Jules's guardian angel. And we get some romantic moments because Jules actually befriends the Diva. And they have because the Diva is worried about being courted, she's worried about her fans, but somehow Jules wheedles his way in. He tells her he once saw her in a concert in Munich, and he drove his moped all the way from Paris to Munich. And the Diva says, "This has got to be a real fan," and they actually have some romantic moments that are pretty touching. But again, everything here is on the surface. This is deliberately so. This is a new style of filmmaking. In 1981, it was really new. So it's a very copied style, music videos and all kinds of movies, action movies. So very influential. What kind of reception did it get? Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, and I've seen all the films I've been talking about lately. When I look up to see what Roger Ebert thought, he gives it 4 stars. He gave a lot of films 4 stars. I did read Vincent Canby's New York Times Contemporaneous. He pretty much pans the movie as just too much style and no substance. Pauline Kael gave it a really unusual review. And she compares Beineix to Orson Welles, and I was thinking, I guess because this is his debut film, and Citizen Kane in 1941, 40 years earlier, was certainly notable for its imagery, kind of imagery, Baroque imagery, that people really hadn't seen that much as in such a concentrated and manner, a total aesthetic. And this Diva is all about the aesthetics, the look of the film, the images that we are led through. And in France, the reception, it was a flop. Now, this was produced by Serge Silberman and I believe his wife Irene. They didn't know what to do. This was a job for hire. Beineix had been a assistant director for like 10 years, and finally had a chance to make a movie. That fell through. And then Silberman, he made a short film, I guess, that Silberman saw, and then he was offered this novel to adopt, because this novel is part of a series of novels where Gora Dish, Jules's guardian angel, is the main character, where this is what he does, I suppose, in all the novels. He's the man who rather fancifully at times gets the protagonist out of trouble. Now, so in France, it was a flop. It was going to be pulled, and Beineix urged Silberman to try to keep it in theaters, and they did keep it in one theater, and suddenly word of mouth came about, positive word of mouth. And then the film became a hit in France and won 4 Caesar Awards, the French equivalent of the Oscars, which was highly unusual for a debut film. So in the US, it got mixed reviews, some very good reviews, but it caught on with the audience, at least in my recollection. I couldn't tell. I didn't get a sense of how much of a hit it was in the US, but I know where I went to the movies to see these kind of films. It was in Philadelphia at the Ritz 3 and then Ritz 5 Theater. It played for a long time, and that's indeed where I saw it, in a packed audience, and it's a very kind of rush of a movie. So I remember the audience being very much on a high energy up after seeing the film. Now there's a commentary, a scene-specific commentary by the director Beineix, and that's very good. And we're warned, there's actually introduction to this by the interviewer where he says, Beineix is going to be kind of philosophical. I'll try to get him on the practical manners. This was recorded like 25 years later. But in the scene-specific commentary, it is very good. It really is. That philosophical point of view that he takes towards these scenes that we see are quite revealing, very, very, very interesting. And then there's a commentary by Simon Abrams. It was okay. He spends a lot of time quoting critics, film theorists, and then trying to explain what they're saying. Diva, to me, I'm not seeing the philosophical aspect of the film. Beineix is pretty convincing of it, but when I watch the film, especially after with the commentary, to me it is a lot of style, not much substance, but the style is pretty good. And then we get a very long series of interviews. I guess it was one documentary, but they cut it up into about 8 sections. So we get interviews with many in the cast. But not with Wilhelmina Fernandez, the diva. I was really hoping to see that because she's really the heart and soul. We're seeing all this razzmatazz kind of cinematography and editing, but we see her in the beginning, we see her in the end, and she's in other parts of the movie, but with singing, and that's really kind of the heart of the film is the diva. And I wish there was a little bit more with her because she was really good. She was sort of discovered. She was a rising opera singer, and she had been in Porgy and Bess in London, but she was not well known. But she is really striking. She's got charisma. She's got screen presence. But she never made another movie, which I thought was kind of sad. And one of the interviews was with Philip Rousselet, who was the cinematographer on this film, and because that was one of his early films, he had shot films before that, but this collaboration with Beineix, and where they were just trying out all kind of new ideas, and that's another thing about this film, is you get that sense of let's try this, let's try that, let's see if this will work. You get that sense as you're watching the film. So this is the 4K. It also includes a Blu-ray slipcase, the same art on the case itself. And I would highly recommend it. I had a great time. I remember watching this in 1981. I think the film stands up surprisingly well. And in fact, in the interviews, which are, I don't know, fairly in this, at least 25 years later, they're all so proud of the film that they're still talking about it today. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.